questions you might have. What we're going to be looking at is called Shout. It's an interactive tool. In other words, it allows us to relate in a two-way experience with our audience. ChyronHego is the company that supplies the Shout, which is what we use here at VOA. We have all Chyron hardware and software. The company Chyron has been around since the 1970s, so it's a well-known, entrenched portion of the TV structure. Today we're going to see a tool named Shout, which is a software component that works with our current Chyron systems that we have in-house. It's a quick and easy to learn, and it efficiently allows you to interact with your viewers. So you can actually harvest what your viewers are saying from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. With that, I'm going to give it to Juan Gonzalez. He is from the ChyronHego Corporation, and he's going to show us how easy it is to use.
We're good. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Good. Okay, well, like Lisa said, my name is Juan Gonzalez. I work for ChyronHego. I've been working with VOA for a long time now. I actually used to freelance here, like 13, 14 years ago. So I understand your product. Non-traditional broadcasting is what we call it. So you're not just a news station that does news, weather, and sports. You all have a specific type of broadcast that you do, and I can definitely appreciate it and understand a little bit of the workflow and the way that the services are arranged in the building. So any kind of questions, I'm very familiar with your operations. So like Lisa was saying, Shout is a module that you'll be able to use to interact with social media and be able to deliver that content that you moderate right into the graphics machine in the control room. So reasons why we would need Shout is basically now you'll be able to scrape Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, mass relevance, and even your own RSS feed. So it's a way to repurpose your internal Voice of America RSS feeds into your show if you wanted to. Custom moderator messages. If within the environment you'd like to put some sort of promo or something like that, there's a way that you can do it. We now support Instagram videos, so if you get an Instagram video associated to the Instagram post, as opposed to just a picture, we can deliver that to the output. Now, of course, there's some technical engineering things that you have to work out if you don't have any of these things that I'm talking about in place, but definitely Seth, Monty, and their crew would be able to assist in trying to get some of these things worked out. Number 4 is more of an engineering thing, embedded machine control. And the fact that the Shout software is language agnostic. So in other words, we'll be able to take Thai tweets, Burmese tweets, Chinese tweets. Okay? So diving right in, this is the Shout interface. This is what the moderator would be using. I don't technically say producer because this job might fall on someone that's not even a producer. It could be an assistant, it could be an editor. The idea is that these tabs that you see on the top would be created by whose team? We create them. Okay. So the idea is you can have multiple tabs. Now, what does the tab do? If we look at the tab itself, it has all the options of how we're going to use this service. I usually don't like to go direct to air with things. I like to be able to moderate and be able to understand what's being written and then be able to pass that over. That's why, like Seth says, they build this portion. But you do have a lot of options. For example, if you do not want the URL, the path that's associated to the tweet to show up on TV, because people are not going to be able to type HQZ579Q/ fast enough, then that's an option that you can add to be able to detach the URL from the actual tweet. Some other things, show character count, show play count. Let's say that you decide to cycle through and play that tweet or Facebook message over and over again. You'll be able to see how many times it's played during your show. And all those things are customizable. So one show or one service could use it one way. And since, like Seth said, the tabs are created for you, each service could have their own different style, different graphic look, as well as how they operate the system. You have all types of, do you want to show their username? I probably think you don't want to use their real name at that point, but you can do both. Everything that's exposed in the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram API, we can go ahead and pass through and publish. So then we come to the input portion. Now, I took my Twitter account to authenticate it. Twitter doesn't let you see tweets unless you have an account. There's a way to do it on the web, but for us to be able to scrape through Twitter's API, we need to have an account. So the service should have an account if they're going to use this, so they can basically be able to scrape stuff. Having an account will also be good for you marketing-wise as well. You can have people subscribe to you. You can subscribe to other folks, etc. In the bottom portion is where we would select what are the terms that we want to search. This is where it could change daily. If you want to search on something related to the news article of the day, if there's a person's name of interest that you want to add this to see what people are commenting about or see their actual Twitter message, this is where you would do that. So just to review the types of accounts that we can have. We can have Facebook. Now, Facebook and Facebook page are two different things. To do Facebook, go in and authenticate your show's Facebook account. If it's a Facebook page, you can go ahead to anybody's public page and see what people are posting on it. So that's the difference between those two. Okay? Instagram, we all know what it is. It's the, people share pictures, etc. Mass relevance is a service that is a Twitter aggregator. They basically do a lot of the telemetry, so a lot of the geographic heat maps that you see when a lot of people tweet from a certain things. Mass relevance does a lot of the back-end work to get that data. U2 is another service, but one of my personal favorites is an RSS feed. The beauty about the RSS feed being in an XML format is that you can generate your own feed. So if internally you wanted to generate a feed that is this would be the best way to do it. Where one producer produces those RSS, and that can be shown across many different devices around the world. Any questions to this point? Awake, I love it. After lunch is special. Okay, so again, I'm not here to sell you this because you've already bought it. So I'm basically here to show you how it works so you can have an idea to be able to use it within your production. So the idea is once we've already searched everything, you can select what kind of search it does. I can't do Facebook or Instagram because I don't have an account, so someone would have to authenticate an account. That's why I mentioned it might be good for you to start setting up these accounts within your shows so that once we do this, and plus it's a vehicle for your show within social media, so I would highly recommend your shows to have one of these accounts each. The output portion does not relate to the producers, but I do want you to understand what it does. This is how we communicate to the graphics. So this layer here where it says output, and this layer here where it says playback, you will never touch, but they're there for you to understand that those are the mechanisms set up of how you take your playlist of what you've already moderated and how that gets put out to the output in the control room. Okay? So if I refresh this, of course, the machine needs to be actively on the internet to be able to do this. You will see that these are the latest posts that have been sent using hashtag VOA. So there's a couple of things you can do here. The first thing is, if you go to your preferences, there's a way to do filters. Now, this is a way to filter out bad words, but also a way to filter out maybe content that you don't want shown. So a lot of times, my name is Juan Gonzalez. There's also a baseball player called Juan Gonzalez. There's also a president somewhere in Latin America called Juan Gonzalez. So again, if you want to then do certain types of searches or filters, you can have it so it doesn't show you the baseball player, for example. Find and replace, again, is a way to either take a word that is not understood and replace it. Twitter, by their own rules, they don't like for you to replace content that is typed, but something that they would allow you to do is, for example, if someone types VOA in lowercase and you want it to show up in uppercase, that's something that the find and replace would be a good thing to do, and Twitter won't be upset about that. All the rest of the stuff, play out, logos, that's all related to Seth and his realm. The appearance, if for some reason you decide, you can't see something right or the color codes aren't right, that's something we can customize within the software. And the other thing is the language. We support all different languages. Voice of America is all the software that you're operating is in English, so the front end will be in English, but this is available in other languages as well. So once we come in and all the tweets are here, you can actually double click and look at the tweet. You can replace the image. So for example, if the avatar that they're using is not something that is deemable for television for whatever reason, you can substitute their avatar because you might really like what they've tweeted, but might be a little either risque or violent or whatever their avatar. So at that point, you can replace it with your show avatar, with a generic avatar, etc. Gives you the character count. And if you like something with this pane, you can say to output and it'll automatically take it to your playlist. So you'll notice that there's two separate columns here. The column on the left is everything that we've scraped with the parameters that we've given it. On the right is what we've already moderated and put on a playlist. This is what's going to show up on your air. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So I have several tabs, so you can have one tab for, let's say, politics, one tab for entertainment. I know that some of the services have an entertainment show and separate kinds of shows. So within your service, you can also have different tabs as well. The portion in the top, I'm not going to review a whole lot because that's something that is more of an operational thing that Seth and his folks will review with you and do this. But basically, once you hit play, you are physically sending this to the machine. If the machine so, again, I'll let Seth give you guys the formal training on how to do that portion, right, in the control room. So here I have, I've divided this into two separate lists. One that I'm going to show you text in a full screen. So let's say that this is something that I wanted to do. Once you hit play, I have here an offline version of the software that they use in the control room. So anyone that works in the control room will be very familiar with the software. What I've basically done is I've routed the information to go into my laptop. So this is how you can cycle through different full screens. I have it set up on a timed execution here where every 5 seconds it will automatically cycle to the next thing. You have a bunch of customizable things that you can do. You can have it so once the tweet has gone to air, you can have it disappear, or you can have it stay and cycle through. So all these things are customizable. So notice that you will be able to see in green when it's on the air, and yellow is the color that it shows you when it's on preview, allowing you to give one last glance. Ooh, you know what? I don't want that. You can stop it when it's in yellow and it won't. Any questions so far? Okay. So once it reaches the graphic layers, that's when it goes out to air. Now this is one design. Every service is definitely going to have their own design, and that's something that Seth and his team and Monty and his team can also help you guys out with the actual look and feel of the graphic that you'll be using. A workflow chat. Any questions?
I have a question. At what point?
Okay, well that is your call. I basically passed through everything, but that is a setting. So if that's something that's important to you in the service, whenever they do create this for you, it'd be important to come in and have them. Now, this is another good tool that we've asked to add. You remove the URL for it to go to air, but let's say that you really wanted to go back and take a look at it. You can have it set up so that when it comes back to your preview side or your moderation side, it can bring the URL back in case you wanted to copy it or link to it or do something. Mm-hmm.
Can you get rid of it?
What you would end up doing is you would bring it back, so you can right click, move back. It'll take you to the cursor of where it is. That's where you can double click on it, amend it, and then you can throw it right to output at that point. So VOA, let's say I'm just gonna add news for example purposes, yeah? And there it's back on the output. It really doesn't want you to edit once it's been moderated for like a security step. Be sure you want to edit this kind of thing. But notice that when you brought it back, it did remember where it was by highlighting in your left-hand column. Now, I'm going to show you for some of the services that are in non-Roman character languages. So, Voice of America has upgraded all their software recently to the latest version of our software. So we will be able to have, this is just a rudimentary example, but Chinese, Thai, Persian, any language that you have, it will be respected on this software. Basically, we've reformatted it to accept rich text. So if it can be copy and pasted in Windows, it will be able to be shown in. And again, this is a very rudimentary example that you're seeing here. It's basically here, and at that point, it's design criteria and creativity that they will add to make it look good for your shows. Any other questions?
I'd like to say something. We're striving to get more people to use this. It's fairly simple. If you can get to this 2-window setting, our service will help you get all the settings the way you need them, walk you through it. Basically, all it takes is a username and password, and then some design parameters. The templates he's showing are all full screen. We can do crawls, lower thirds. We can do half screens. There's a whole bunch of different options, and design-wise, we want it to match your show. So we'll work with you through that process. It's really quite simple. But a lot of the settings that Linda asked about or something like that, they're pretty much set for you. We keep it as simple as possible. It's really just a username and password, and we work with you. It takes a week or two to get it right, to get the practice down, to get the template built, all that stuff. But send us along, whatever you want for your show. It does take a channel in the control room, so we're working right now to get some of the crawls that already exist out of the control room and possibly to master control so that we can free up channels for this. That mostly pertains to the Persians. Outside of that, I think Afghans have a crawl, and that's it. Everybody else is open to it. The software's here. We purchased this. This isn't a sales call. We have it. You're welcome to just shoot us an email, and we can get started.
Just to give you an idea of the things that are exposed within a message, we have, and that's something that I want to mention to you. So when you do talk to Seth and Marty and his team, that you explain what are the things that you would like to see in the graph. There's the username, there's the actual tweet, there's the image associated with it. That would the elapsed time. Do you want to show elapsed time like 18 minutes ago? Logo, the post image, which is an image that they post, the image post or the video post, the person's real name, the time and the date. That way they can then put it graphically on the air. Those are the different things that are exposed in the tweet.
Here's what I can say. The template, I think you're talking about hashtag. In hashtag, the template that's used for social media is actually the same one that's in Cameo. So if you get a tweet that's on Monday and your show's on Friday, you can put it in Cameo. You can, copy and paste it, or you can retweet it so it shows up on the left-hand column. Essentially, it's the same template, but Shout is live. So you can get stuff during the show.
Playlist during the show. Imagine that what you're talking about is what you're going to be showing in your monitor or as a VO or as part of your package that you're talking about. Third running constantly during the live show independent of the content that you're talking about.
So,
Which will, it's a way, especially if the hashtag show, be very engaging at that point, that people will stick watching just to see if their tweet.
Right. I mean, what you've been doing up until this point is basically pre-producing this content, and now it's not pre-produced content. It's real-time content.
different social media, and it can show up in various different ways live in your show as you're doing your show. It could be a running crawl. You could have specific segments that go to social media. You can run through them. It's, dare I say, limitless.
Yeah, and again, you know, like they were saying, it's the design is the creative part of it. This is just how the mechanics of it works. The idea here is I'll put some more. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's totally an option. Yeah. Obviously, some places in the world you don't want to show images. You don't want to show the location. But yeah, those options are there and totally usable, including posts like video and photos and whatnot. Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to make sure you authenticate Facebook. If not, it doesn't work. So you would go to be able to log in. So I authenticated Twitter with my personal Twitter account just to get. Ideally, it will be with yours. Not necessarily that you're going to be showing what's in your account, but it's a way. So you have Well, you have to validate with an account. If there's a show account, that might be the best way. Not validating with your personal one, but again, just have an account. So, for example, you could have a Facebook page that's independent of your account. Does that make sense? I think so.
I have to go to another meeting, but before I go, I wanted to thank everybody for coming. This is a tremendous turnout. Thank you very much, and I'm going to encourage you to make the most of Juan's time. He's one of the smartest guys on the planet about this kind of stuff, and we don't get him here often. So pepper him with questions and ideas and all of that stuff.
Email message. So you got sent an email. At that point, the way that I would do that is if that gets published to an RSS, then we can read it. So that mechanism would have to be in place where you could send that to an in-house email address that just gets published to an RSS. That might be the easiest way to do it, but there's some infrastructure internally we'd have to look at to make that happen. But that's the way I would probably tackle it. Overall, how you'd want to handle it.
It's totally doable. Yeah.
What you could do is post it. So if the email is something that's of relevance, you can post it and, give credit to the person that did it. Out, not only it'll be ready for air, but it's actually out on your social media site.
Am I correct to assume that?
Yep. Okay. And now the tweet's gonna be late,
The
so
tweets will be old.
if you
You
do a
know.
live to
Oh, I
tape,
see, I see.
so if you tape everything live to tape, what I would do is I wouldn't show how long ago it posted or a date. So you don't make it a time sensitive date and you can re-air it as much
But
as
it could be a weekly show, like,
Right.
yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't care if it was posted, like sometimes, specific names or specific strings. Oh, and that's another thing I forgot to mention. I'm not that good on doing this, but there's a way to be able to expose. Oh, they took my little thingy away. Oh, there it is. Okay. So anyone that understands a little bit about Twitter, you can do and ors. So again, the example I gave you where it's my name, but Major League Baseball, you don't want it in it. This is where you would, create specific queries so that your list of things that show up are more tailored towards what you're looking for. That's going to give you, of course, less amount of tweets. But there is a mechanism in place. You just don't have to put words. You can actually put Twitter API strings of searching, and it will take it.
Currently, hashtag is probably the best example, and that's all in English, but it does do every language.
And when is it 1:30? And it's in Studio 52. So if you call it up on a TV, just channel 52. No,
Just dealing with the,
The service provides an operator that we train. Yeah, it is provided by the service. Yeah, it is fairly simple though. There's two windows. You know, one you read them and you okay it and drag it to the right. It's really pretty down to earth.
Now, we do have a product for that, and that's something that we've already discussed. You don't have that in-house yet, but that we call shout metrics, where you would basically say this particular hashtag, yes or no, or you would put hashtag MLB, hashtag NFL, which one gets more tweets, for example, and then that would build your bar chart or pie chart or anything like that. That you currently don't have, but we've been looking at it to incorporate it. This is just straight finding the tweet, finding the post, and airing it. But yeah, we have had discussions about that, because that's something very interesting for you to be able to do questions of the week, questions of the day, do a specific campaign, who's your, what's your favorite local rock band, so a lot of people watching the show can participate. And that'll give you a gauge of how many numbers of people are actually participating, to be able to see it's 1,000 versus 900.
Any more questions? Instagram.
Instagram video,
Eric?
Twitter video,
So basically, is it attached to the tweet?
no.
So it's a link.
Thing.
Yeah, if it's,
Video streaming stuff.
yeah, not yet. The good thing about the program is, how long have you had it? Like 6 months, more, a little more?
Longer than that. About 2 years, I think.
So you can ask them, the people that have dealt with the program and been trained on it, this list has grown. So before we only had like Twitter and Facebook, and we just kept on growing things as social media. All of a sudden, there's a little dinosaur thing that's the newest, best thing since sliced bread. We'll find a way to put it in there. We've architectured.
You started to do that on,
Okay.
you did it Monday.
Okay, well, that's something that I'll definitely take back to product management, because they're always looking and asking us what our customers are saying are the most trending new social media vehicles. So again, that kind of feedback is invaluable to us. So if there's something that you see that's relevant, that's starting to be used in your region, maybe not here yet, let us know and we'll try to incorporate it. We release about 3 or 4 versions of this a year. This is one of the products we most have releases for, due to that fact that we like keeping track of that.
Mostly used it for Twitter.
It will be the post or the comment, depending. If you go to the page, it's the post.
Okay.
There's a way to do, I'm not sure how to do it with Facebook. That's something that I can. But again, that's why there's 2 separate entries. I would deal with both, just to see how it would react.
Check for me real quick if Khmer works, the font. I
Khmer?
know like
Sure.
Thai probably would work, but
Okay, now you'd have to give me a search term. So if you can give me a search term, so I don't know, let's do Phnom Penh, right?
N O no E. Yeah, that should be enough.
Yes, I have.
PHEN.
Way too long ago, though. I know how to spell Siem Reap better. Okay, so I don't see anyone typing in camera at this point, but if you had, that's another thing that's interesting. They might want to search in
Can you
their.
search a hashtag on this?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can. Please, yeah.
Can you do politics KH?
Hashtag politics KH. Okay. Now here's another thing that's gotten me thinking. If you have your service is of the language of the country that is different than, Roman letters, we should look at adding the camera keyboard to that particular control room you do the show, so that you can type the search term in camera, or Thai, or Chinese, or Vietnamese, or whatever. Does that make sense? So the OS, we have to load the keyboard.
Yeah, we do that for some languages already. We haven't gotten into too many languages with this, but it uses 3D text, which basically, instead of it references the font, but it builds it in like a 3D space. So it can pretty much take any language. We haven't run into one right now that has given us any issue. So we'd be happy to test it.
A lot on there.
So I don't see anything with camera text on it.
Twitter's a lot more English. Facebook is a lot more local. Yeah.
But yeah, it would, as long as the text, this is a Unicode, written in Unicode, and like Seth said, it will Unicode translate to any language we'll be able to do it. I mean, I've tested it with Persian, with Chinese, with Thai. And Khmer and Thai have 3 levels of accent as well, right? So even though they're different, but at least ascension-wise, it does work. We tried it. Pretty close, yeah. Which before, many years ago, was an issue because of the baseline and everything. Any other questions? Do you do RSS feeds now? RSS something that VOA is doing, or?
Most websites at VOA have an RSS feed. Your web team should. I don't think we have too many people here from the web team, but most of them have RSS.
It'd be cool to add that in there, especially if your website does have an RSS, because it's a great way for you to self-promote the website within your Twitter lower third environment. So that'd be cool to, someone already did the work, someone already published this news for you. You might as well use it and also cross-promote within your different brands and outlets. And the beauty about the RSS is that these are internal paths within the building. So we can have it, it doesn't necessarily even have to go out. You can have a RSS.
You don't have to monitor it, really. It's already been
That
edited and monitored.
Exactly. So at that point, if you wanted to just hit play on a playlist of the RSS in the control room, that's where we can automate it and leave it. And of course, language support will be the same because RSS is, Unicode as well. Now, within RSS, eventually, if internally you decide that they want to build a mechanism for you to do promotions through this, you can use the RSS. RSS is basically an XML code structure. So it's code, it's broken down in brackets and so forth, for those of you who have never seen it. RSS is basically looking at an XML. So if you feed a custom XML, so if there's something internally that you want to create and things like this, we can do it that way. So we can read a custom XML through the RSS is what I'm trying to say. Any other questions? Anybody want to come use it? It doesn't bite. And if anything you leave from this room is, the tools are here, they're in the building. At least investigate, look at it. Anytime I've gone into a control room environment and the producers tell me, I got half an hour for you to train me. Okay, that's long enough. By that afternoon, they're using it. So this is very simple. A production assistant can do it, an intern can do it. There's no hidden buttons, it's very visual. You just drag it over to the right-hand side and there it goes. like we said earlier, a lot of the setup and a lot of the options are going to be handled for you. So there's really, all you got to do is moderate the content for the show, pretty much.
It is available in all the major. 48, 53, and 55 do not have it. It is available in all other control rooms.
What about WeChat?
Chat.
No, that's more of a, never mind, that's more of a peer-to-peer.
Well, if there's a mechanism to publish that as an XML, then we can tie in and read it. So maybe your whatever services you use to, you know, IT or that has experience in creating XMLs, if there's something internal that you need to be published, that would be the way that I would do it. Anything else? Yeah, so thank you. Definitely what I would want you to take away is what aspects of the tweet you'd like shown. Because when you start the conversations with them about how you want it to look and all that, it'd be good for them to understand what it is you want exposed on the screen. Right here, you know, I only showed you username and message, but you might want other information, their actual picture. If you want the picture of their avatar and the attachment, those are two separate things that they should know about because they have to structure it the right way. So try to come in as, you know, look at what a tweet is and see, okay, these are the components that I want to air either in the lower third or as a full screen.
I can say one thing that we run into during the shows when we set these up, they don't know where they're going to go in the show. We had a service that set it up and just didn't use it for a couple weeks, and we were like, what's going on, you know? Some people like to do a social media segment that is a, you know, a timed part of their show that they go to these kind of things. Other people will use it for filler, you know, if they're have bad timing on their show, a package went wrong or something like that, they can just start sending tweet, you know, start reading tweets, start talking about it, get back into the conversation, move on with the show. Some people use it as a ticker, a crawl across the bottom that's on the whole show, and they don't reference it. So, you know, there's lots of options there. You guys should, you know, discuss amongst yourselves how you want to use it, but that is an issue.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'll stay a little after. Does anyone has any questions, technical or specific?
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, good. Link thing. I didn't know that you can put video now. I saw more and more people like doing that now.
Not necessarily show.
Chinese actually, yeah.
And Facebook, because in Denmark, Facebook social media is
Right.
the RS